Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all honor and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rahakwadash. Double honors to the elders, the apostles, and the bishops of Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to the elect, starting with the 144,000 governing body of the nation of Yasha Allah, and the men, the women, the children, the true believers in the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. May He have mercy on you in these last days. This is your brother, I'm not Allah, coming back at you with another lesson. The Lord willing to be edifying. And the name of this lesson is The Other Nations Will Be Casualties of War During Jacob's Trouble. The other nations will be casualties of war during Jacob's trouble. Now, that's a reason that they're going to be casualties of war, but nevertheless, it's insignificant. Why? Because Jacob's trouble was designed to judge the Israelites. And it just so happens that we're here in America, aka Babylon the Great, where the central point of judgment will happen, all right, and the deliverance of the elect. And with that being said, the other nations will fall by the sword. Why? Because it was the Lord's will, and the scriptures will back that up. Now, let me show you the nations that I'm talking about. This is Psalms chapter 83 and verse 1. It says, "Keep not thy silence, O Yahweh. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yahweh. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head." So the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Shah, is letting you know who his enemies are in these scriptures I'm about to read here. All right. So in hindsight, they do deserve what they're about to get. All right, in Jacob's trouble and before Jacob's trouble, but definitely during Jacob's trouble. Okay, it says, "They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against the hidden ones." Thy people, who is thy people? The Israelites, starting with the elect. Who are the hidden ones? The saints, the Israelites. It says, "They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation." See, they cut us off from being a nation. How? Removing our name, changed what Job 9 and 24. He changes the faces of the judges. Okay. He made everything that was so-called a part of our heritage and flipped it and made it his heritage. That's why he's a thief and a robber. Okay. It says, then, and when I say that's why he's a thief and a robber, I'm speaking of the so-called white man, Esau Edom. Because Job 9 and 24 says, "The earth has been given into the hands of the wicked. He changes the faces of the judges. If not, wherein who is he?" He is the so-called white man. And he's an actual, now we know, true and blue, he's a pea-filer, all right? He's a baby cannibalizer, okay? He's all the things. He is the worker of odious works, as I said in previous lessons. And America is the land of odious works. All right. And odious means repulsive, stinky, nasty, repulsive again. All right. Abominable wickedness. All right. It says, "They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance." And until the Lord sent the servants, the prophets, to wake up the elect, we were of no remembrance. Hell, up until I'm gonna say 10 years ago, or even then, less than 5 years ago, I thought I was just a so-called black man. Okay, I didn't know the things that I know now. All right, so that shows you that the Lord is having mercy by waking up the hopeful elect. You better hope you are the elect, because what Jacob's trouble comprise, or how could I say it? What Jacob's trouble is basically going to be about. It's going to be a time like never before, a time of danger, evil. All right, and evil. The Hebrew word for evil is ra. All right, and when you go into that word, it has many attributes to it. One is death by pain, agony, anguish, okay, sickness. These things are going to be during the time of Jacob's trouble at an all-time high, because the Lord said it's going to be a time like never before. But why is this lesson coming out? Because the nations will just be there to be destroyed. That's all. It won't be no mercy for none of them. Okay? The Lord's going to get the other nations along with Esau, Edom, for the what? For the slavery, for the wickedness, and for this right here, what I'm reading. It says, they have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance, for they have consulted together with one consent, all together, and they are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom, starting right out the gate, the so-called white man. All right. It says, and the Ishmaelites, the so-called Arab man, and the Moabites, or Moab, the so-called Chinese man, and the Hagarenes, and Gabal, and Ammon, who is Ammon, the so-called Japanese man, and Amalek, who is Amalek, the so-called Jewish man over there in the land of Israel right now. Netanya, not a Jew. And the Philistines and the inhabitants of Tyre, the so-called Africans. So you got the so-called white man and all of his lineage. You got the so-called Ishmaelites, or the Arab, which means mixed, okay, and his lineage. Then you got the Chinese man. Then you got the Japanese man and their lineages, and then the African, who were called African, but they're really Hamites, Ham. Their forefathers Ham, right? And they too also will be destroyed for in their lineage. And I say destroyed, I'm talking about just Jacob's trouble, because ultimately they will serve 1,000 years of slavery, and then they will rejoice in the righteousness that's being ruled by our Lord and Savior Yahweh, by Shem Yahushua, King David, and the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. Okay, so now we know who the enemies are. Let's go. This is Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 7. I'm going to start at verse 6. Ask ye now and see whether man doeth travail with trial. See, that ain't just talking about the Israelite man. That's any man that's going to be walking around here in America doing Jacob's trouble. Travail with trial. Basically, the Lord's giving you a description of suffering. When a woman is about to have a baby, she's suffering until that damn baby come out. It is painful. It says, wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces turned into paleness out of fear of the shit that they're going to be witnessing and experiencing in Jacob's trouble. So for you so-called Yah Israelites, I'm going to say it again, you're not going to be saved out of Jacob's trouble at all. As a matter of fact, it is for you, for calling on the wrong name, for letting your women teach, and just for being out of order and causing dissension amongst the congregation, okay? And speaking on things you know nothing about. Yeah, I said it. Yeshua, Yahuwah, Yahweh, Yahweh, Yah, okay? Most Christ blessed. None of those names are going to bring deliverance during the time of Jacob's trouble. That's why none of you believe you're going to suffer in Jacob's trouble. You really believe this part right here. It says in verse 7, at last that day is great, that none is like it. Let's stop right there. None is like it. So when we came here on ships, that's a description of Jacob's trouble. When we were under the Babylonian captivity, the Assyrian captivity, the Persian captivity, the Greek captivity, the Roman captivity, all right? The Egyptian captivity. Those were all signs or an example of Jacob's trouble. Why? Because Jacob goes back to who? The forefather of the Israelites, right? Jacob's name was changed to what? Yashar Allah, Prince of Power, okay? So what's going on here? The Lord is letting you know in each and one, every time, the things that I have put my people through, all right, the nation of Yashar Allah, nothing is going to compare to what you're going to go through now. That's the point. So then it says, it is even a time of trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. That he is the elect. But that don't account to none of the other nations. That don't account to none of you Yah Israelites and you fucking Low down, Babylonian loving ass niggers. Jacob's trouble is going to tear your ass up. You gonna be looking right at your heathen friend, and y'all both gonna be getting great together, eating alive together. Anything you could think of that could you could say positive that could happen. The Lord would allow that to happen. He's telling you that and more. You think with this shit you seeing on these Epstein files or what they've been doing, that ain't shit compared with the Lord about to happen here in America during Jacob's trouble. You see? This is Amos chapter 3 and verse 1. Hear this word that the Lord has spoken against you, O Israel. Slack, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought out from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. So out of all the nations on the earth, Yahweh Bashim knows Israel. How? By the laws, statutes, and commandments. So the other nations is just casualties of war when he come to bring judgment to this fucking place. Because his goal is to judge his own people for their wickedness. But he's a double-edged sword. He's just going to get rid of the nations that's here, and hence casualties of war. Don't you know we, not me, because I've repented. I hope and pray that I'm not at war with Yahweh Shai. The name Yahweh Shai means he is the deliverer from what? Well, ultimately, Jacob's trouble and thermonuclear war. But also, when you think about his name, it's a set apart name that if you don't call on it, then you're an enemy of the Lord, because his sacrifice was to a propitiation, to appease the indignation, the righteous anger of Yahweh because of the wickedness that's being done here in America. And the wickedness we've done throughout our generations. But the most wickedest generation is right here in America. And it can't go on for any longer. All right? It says, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities. You see, we're going to be punished, but these other nations, they're going to be put to death. But there's a difference. Our punishment, yes, it will lead to death, but we still, as you're a so-called Negro, Latino, Native American, and your forefather go back to one of the 12 tribes, then you will ultimately be in the kingdom of heaven after you've been punished. But that punishment is going to cost and be very painful. And you're going to be punished all through Jacob's trouble, and even after the Lord returned and he decided you wasn't of the elect, you're going to still burn in the fire. You see? But for the other nations, this is going to be pure hell for them. This is why they're enjoying their life now. Eating babies, sacrificing children, raping, murdering, stealing, lying, cheating, destroying. Yeah. This is Jeremiah. Salakia. Let me go here first. This is Isaiah 40 and 15. Salakia. This is Isaiah 40 and 15. It says, behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket, and counted as small as the small dust of the balance. Behold, he taketh up the isles as a very little thing, and Lebanon is not sufficient to burn, nor beasts thereof sufficient for an offering. So the Lord is literally letting you know this how you know the nations are casualties of war. Right here. He's telling you. Like they just a drop of it. They just there as a fill-in. The story is about Jacob and Esau at the end of the day. It's about Jacob's lineages, his people, and Esau, his lineages, or his people, right? Don't have nothing to do with Ishmael, Moab. No, they just gonna be casualties of war. Even with all the power they're accumulating, and all the wealth they're garnering or building up. At the end of the day, Yahweh Bashim Shai said, "What? Behold, the nations, the same nations I just outlined in Psalm chapter 83. The nations are as a drop of a bucket, and are counted as the dust, as the small dust off the balance. Behold, he taketh of the isles as a very little thing, and Lebanon is not sufficient to burn, nor beast thereof sufficient for a burnt offering. All nations before him are as nothing." Heard? Did you hear that? All nations are before him as nothing. So if that's the case, your prayers ain't gonna matter in Jacob's trouble. You see, nothing's going to matter. You are literally going to be a casualty of war, because the war between Yahweh and his people for their disobedience, and his war with you for touching the apple of his eye. Because the scriptures let you know what heathen nation has not had their hand in spoiling us. In other words, every last one of you is an enemy to the nation of Yasharala. And if you're an enemy to Yasharala, well, obviously you're going to be an enemy to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, who created us to serve him. And that's why I read Amos chapter 3 and verse 1. Because he let you know he's only known us. So it doesn't matter what you experience through Jacob's trouble. It doesn't even fucking matter. It says all that does matter is going to be one fucked up situation for you. All the nations before him are as nothing, and they are counted to him as less than nothing. Vanity. What is vanity? Confusion, emptiness, wasteland, a place of chaos. See that? That's what the Lord is saying about you people. This is Isaiah 2 and 4. And he shall judge amongst the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords and their plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nations shall not lift up the sword against nations, neither shall they learn war anymore. I really shouldn't have read that, but I'm going to say this about this precept. The Lord is letting you know, right? He says, and he shall judge among the nations. They they going to be called into a land called Jehoshaphat. All right, Jehoshaphat. Okay, and then in that place is where a lot of the judging is going to go on to the other nations as well. But when we're talking about Jacob's trouble type of judgment, right here in America, and if you're here in America and you're of the other nation, you're going to feel the indignation of the Lord. That's the point of that precept right there. All right. This is Jeremiah chapter 10 and verse 10. But the Lord is the true power. He is the living power and an everlasting king. And his wrath and it's like and an everlasting king. At his wrath the earth shall tremble, and the nations shall not be able to abide his indignation. See, you won't be able to handle the day of the Lord. You won't be able to handle Jacob's trouble, but you're going to go through it, and you're going to be a casualty of war. It's just a part of the sacrifice that you brought on yourself, by the way. You brought that on to yourself. Slakia. Yep, that was it for that. Uh, See, Salakia. This is Amos chapter 9 and verse 1. It says, I saw the Lord standing upon the altar, and he said, smite the intel at the door, that the posts may shake and cut them in the head, all of them, and I will slay the last of them with the sword at the feet at with the sword. He that fleeth of them shall not flee away, and he that escapeth from them shall not be delivered. Though they dig into hell, hence shall mine hand take them. Though they climb up to heaven, hence will I bring them down. This is the Lord telling you, you heathens, especially you Edomites, you're not going to get away from Jacob's trouble or any judgment that he has towards you. The part when I say you're going to be a casualty of war, that is not a light thing, because you're going to go through something that you think you're going to be able to pray yourself out of. You think you're going to be able to repent. A lot of you think you're God's people, but you're going to find out you're not. You belong to Satan. It says, though they dig into hell, the bonkers, right? This shall that my hand take them. Though they climb into heaven, thence I will bring them down. Try to get on space shuttle and fly to another planet to avoid your judgment, to avoid that being a casualty of war. It won't happen. It says, and although they hide themselves in the top of Carmel, I will search and take them out of thence. And though they be hid from my sight in the bottom of the sea, thence will I command the serpent, and he shall bite them. And though they go into captivity for their enemies, thence will I command the sword, and it shall slay them. And I will set my eyes upon them for evil and not good, the nations. Starting with Esau, Edom. It says, and the Lord your power of hosts is he that toucheth the land, and it shall melt, and all that dwell therein shall mourn, and it shall rise up wholly like a flood, and shall be drowned as by the flood of Egypt. It says, it is he that buildeth his stories in the heavens, and have founded his troop in the earth. He that calleth for the waters of the sea, and poureth them out upon the face of the earth. The Lord Yahweh is his name. Are ye not as the children of the Ethiopians to me, O children of Israel? Saith the Lord, have not I brought up Israel out the land of Egypt, and the Philistines, the Captor, and the Syrians for Ker? Behold, the eyes of the Lord are upon a sinful kingdom. What is the sinful kingdom? America. It says, and I will destroy it from off the face of the earth, saving that I will utterly destroy the house of, let me just say that again, saving that I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith the Lord. This is why we know the elect is going to survive and overcome Jacob's trouble. You see, it says, for lo, I will command, and I will sift the house of Israel among all the nations. You see, the elect is going to, that's who is going to be saved out of Jeremiah 30 and 7. The elect. This is what this is talking about. Because the wrath of the Lord is coming to a sinful kingdom, America. It says, I will sift the house of Israel among all nations, like corn is sifted in a sieve, yet shall not the least grain fall to the earth. All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say the evil should not overtake nor prevent us. And that sword is who? Esau, Edom. When he's done with his sword, then the sword is going to come back to him. See, that's how the Lord going to get down. And to all the other nations, casualties of war. It says, in that day I will raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old. Right, the kingdom of heaven. Okay, righteousness being put back in place, and you heathens being put in subjection. It says, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the treader the grapes, and the treader the grapes, Salaki, and the treader of grapes him that soweth seed. And the mountains shall drop sweet wine, and all the hills shall melt. And I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel, and they shall build the waste cities and inhabit in them. Meaning we're going to go back to our land, and you heathens are going to be building up the kingdom of heaven. But over here in America, Jacob's trouble, casualties of war. Really, the elite bankers are the ones that's going to be doing the building and the hardcore slavery out the gate. You other Edomites, you're going to be born through them into slavery, and it is a righteous thing, because we know who been the meal piece for you goddamn devils on them Epstein on that Epstein Island. We know who your targeted audience is. It's the Israelites. Always have and will be. So there is no like need to wonder why the Lord doing this and why I gotta be that way. He said at the end of the day, it's justifiable based on the scriptures that I done read, starting with Psalm chapter 83. It says, I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel, and they shall build the waste cities and inhabit in them. And they shall plant vineyards and drink the wine thereof, and they shall also make gardens and eat the fruit of them. So the Lord is letting you know how the kingdom of heaven is going to become, or how it's going to be building up. It's going to be right here on earth. But before that, war, casualties of war. And those casualties is used other nations. This is Isaiah 34:1. Come near, ye nations, to hear. Hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world, and all the things that come forth out of it. For the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations. We closing out with this right here, because this is war talk right here. The Lord said he got anger against all nations. He says, and his fury upon all their armies, and he have utterly destroyed them. This hasn't happened yet, but he's saying he has already done it. It ain't even happened. It says he have delivered them to the slaughter. It's Jacob's trouble, then World War III. He says their slain shall also be cast out, and their stink shall come up, and all their carcasses and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. And the most high of heaven, Salaki, and all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down, and the leaf falleth from the vine as a falling fig from a fig tree. And then he lets you know who gonna get it the worst. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down on Idumea, upon the people of my curse of judgment. Who is Idumea? The so-called Edomites, Esau, Edom. It says, and the sword of the Lord is filled with the blood. It is made at the fat, and it is made with the fatness, and with the blood of the lambs and the goats, and the fat of the kidneys of the rams. For the Lord have a sacrifice in Bozrah, Basra is America. When you think this is going to be happening? Well, it's going to happen in Jacob's trouble, but ultimately it's going to end with thermonuclear fire. It says, in a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. So a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. You heathens are just going to be, like I said, casualties of war. And you so-called Negroes or Latinos, Native Americans, you're going to still die just like your heathen counterparts. But the difference is you will have a place in the kingdom, because once you die on this side and you go through the fire, whether it's the fire of adversity or the thermonuclear fire, you'll have your right mind back. You'll know you're an Israelite. You'll be a believer. The laws will be written in your inward part, and you'll do right. But on this side, you're likened unto the heathen. So you're going to die like them. So you too will be casualties of war in Jacob's trouble. So Lord willing, this is edifying. I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors the elders, the apostles, the great millstone. Shalom.